to my channel. So this trip is basically 6 different national parks. This first half is all of the US parks that we went to. We went to Yellowstone, Grand Teton, and Glacier National Parks. We flew into Salt Lake City and then we drove north to Grand Teton. And we did bring our dogs with us because we couldn't get a dog sitter and we didn't want to board them. So we didn't really do a ton of hiking for this trip. So right here, we're driving through the mountains coming into Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And Jackson Hole is a really cute little town. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it because it's very famous. Yeah, we just ate at this cheeseburger place. I don't remember what it's called. And then we just walked around and went in some shops. We were planning on spending most of the day in Grand Teton this day, but we had to switch out our rental car and that set us back several hours. So we kind of got to the park right as the sun was setting and there was also rain, so we didn't really get to do a lot. But we did wake up super early for sunrise the next day so that we could come back and see more of the park. The first rental car we got had a nail in the tire, so we just didn't want to deal with it, so we had to switch it out. And I'm sure a lot of people know, but this part of the United States gets really crowded in the summer months because it has like a long, brutal winter, so there's not a lot of time that you can actually come and see the parks. But late September was not too bad at all. It really wasn't that crowded. And this is driving in the morning the following day for sunrise. The sun was just coming up over the mountains, and it's literally one of the prettiest things I've ever seen in my entire life. You can't really tell, but the mountains are really tall right here, and I just felt super fortunate that the timing was just so perfect, and we did pull over and take some time to just like soak it all in. With the foggy weather and the sun shining like through it, I just think it looked super cool. And this trip was extra exciting for me because I did get to visit 3 new states and my 49th state that I visited. I have a goal of going to all 50, so I only have Alaska left. And this was our first view of the mountains in Grand Teton. That's a glacier right there. I don't remember the name, but it's definitely marked on a map. And I was really surprised by how tall and like just jagged they were. I didn't expect it because you couldn't really tell with the rain and the fog the previous day. This lake is Jenny Lake. We stopped, I think, twice to get a view of it, and at one of the stops I bought this Christmas ornament, and then I bought this one from Jackson Hole, and then I bought this magnet at, I don't know, one of the stops, and these 2 stickers. And one of the good things about Jenny Lake is that there's like a place, I think by one of the visitor centers, that we could just walk right up to the lake with the dogs because it was all paved. So it wasn't really a trail, but we were able to still see it really easily without having to hike separately. Sadly, there was a little bit of fog still like blocking the peaks, but it was still a pretty view. And then we pulled off again because this was also a really pretty view. I liked the color of the leaves. It just felt really like autumnal to me. And I don't know exactly where this was. I don't think it's really called anything. It's just one of the stops along the road. And this is Jackson Lake, which seemed like the water level was super low. I don't really know for sure, but it looked really low. And then we got to Yellowstone, and the first thing that we did was go see Old Faithful. And I don't know if this is normal, but it literally erupted like exactly on the dot the time the visitor center said that it would, which I guess that's why it's called Old Faithful. But it was just so crazy to me that that actually happens. And we got really lucky with timing because we just kind of pulled up and then it was going to erupt in a half hour and we didn't really have to like go do something else and like come back or anything like that. And then this is the area where the Grand Prismatic Spring is. This is only part of the park that we had any issue with parking. We did have to park along the road. And since we had the dogs, we had to do this separately. One person stay with the dogs and then the other person go see it and then come back and switch. And this was really cool. It was definitely one of my favorite things. But with all the steam, it was really hard to actually see the prismatic spring really well and all of the colors that it's like known for. I'm guessing that's one of the perks to coming when the weather's hot, is that maybe there's a little bit less steam, but I'm not really sure. And I did see a shocking number of people with their dogs in areas that they weren't supposed to be. And at Yellowstone, that's just incredibly dangerous, and you definitely do not want to do that. And this is one of the many rainbows that we saw in the park. I don't know how many we saw that day, but probably like somewhere around 15. And one of my favorite things that we saw was the steamboat geyser. It doesn't erupt that often, but we were lucky enough to be there like right when it was happening, and it was super loud. You could probably hear it from like a mile away, and it just sounded like a massive train coming past or something. And this area is the Mammoth Hot Springs. This was another one of my favorite things in the park. I just thought it looked super cool with the different levels of like pools of water. I don't exactly know what it is. And this part kind of just looks like, I don't even know, just like a pile of like alien goo or something. It just looks super cool and multicolored. And this area is actually the last thing we did this day. And then we drove straight up to Canada, did a bunch of stuff in Canada, came back, and then went to Glacier, and then came back to Yellowstone right before going home. But I included it like right after this stuff because I just wanted to keep the parks together. And this is like a cool little like scenic drive thing that is part of Mammoth Hot Springs. That was maybe one of my favorite parts. It was really short but really fun. And then here's another rainbow that we saw. And as we were driving out of the park, we saw a bison just like in the street walking, which I know it's something you commonly see in Yellowstone, but I was just kind of surprised that we actually saw it. And we did see a lot of other bison, but most of them were just kind of like far away in the distance in the fields and stuff. And then, like I said, we did come back to Yellowstone our last day just because we didn't really get enough time here because of the rental car situation. And so this is the day we came back into the park. And the first thing we did was just go straight to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone because that was something I really wanted to see, so I wanted to make sure that we got to do it. And this waterfall is super impressive and super tall. I feel like my video doesn't really do it justice, but it's really pretty and it kind of just looks like a painting. There's a whole bunch of different viewpoints that you can get of this waterfall. I think we saw maybe 3 of them, and then we had to do other things to make the most of our short time here. I just showed some bison in that last clip. And this is the area coming up on the mud volcano. That was another one of my favorite things. It just felt very like prehistoric, kind of like you're in, I don't know, just prehistoric times, I guess, because it was really powerful and loud, and it was just like coming out of the ground, and you could just see the waves of like sulfuric water. I don't really know what it is again, but yeah, it was just really cool. And we did bring my dog's little car seats with us in our suitcases, so it was really convenient to just have that for them to sit in the car and be comfortable. And then this area is called the West Thumb, I'm pretty sure. It's just like a boardwalk with a bunch of like hot springs and little bubbling pools. And some of them looked really cool because you could actually see like into it and see like the hole of where everything's coming out of. And then other ones were really like foggy. And I think some of them would have looked really colorful if it was earlier in the day and the sun would have been directly overhead. But a lot of them were kind of in the shadow of the boardwalk. So I don't know, maybe think about going there earlier in the day. And then we just saw this limping bison, which was really sad. And then we left the park, and there was a really nice sunset. And then this footage is actually from the day before when we went to Glacier National Park. And I've been wanting to go to that park for so long, but unfortunately it was raining and foggy. So we didn't get the best views, but we still managed to see the most that we could. And you can tell this water right here is very blue, but unfortunately it doesn't look as blue as it should, obviously because of the sky. But yeah, we didn't really do any hiking here either because we had the dogs and also it was raining. And you can actually see a surprising amount from the car in Glacier. It's kind of like Grand Teton where there's just like a big scenic drive that goes through the park and you get to see a lot of cool views and mountains. We're definitely planning on coming back here someday, hopefully not too far in the future, but I would like to have at least 2 full days here without dogs so that I can do some hikes and get like more lucky with the weather. And we're coming up on this like tunnel that goes through a mountain. I think we went through 2 tunnels and I always like those because I don't know, they just feel kind of fun. Water here is really clear, of course, like a lot of other places, but it's like glacial water, so it's super blue. And that's what I really love about this area of the United States and the Rocky Mountains is that the water is just so blue. And if you know why glaciers make water more blue, please like comment below because I meant to look it up and I forgot. I'll probably look it up after this, but I might also forget. So if you know the answer, just let me know. And that's all for US parks. I'm going to do like a part 2 with the Canadian parks that we went to, so be sure to look out for that. We went to 2 parks in Alberta and 1 in British Columbia, but thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know below if you've been to any of these places and what you thought. And please think about subscribing because I'd like to make a lot more videos in the future.